Hello and welcome to Middle Class Film Class Podcast Sick Edition. My name is Joseph.
I'm Peter.
I'm Tyler.
And we are at episode 12, guys.
Episode 12.
Thank you for pushing through your sickness, Joseph, to record today. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Speaking of my sickness, we all remember those days where we would miss school or work because we were sick or maybe pretended to be sick, and we would watch Wheel of Fortune or The Price is Right on TV.
Yeah, Price is Right was my thing, yeah.
Or Maury.
So I have, we are unofficially sponsored today by Pluto TV. Because if you want to reminisce or take a trip down nostalgia lane, I think if you're ever sick at home in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week, just flip on Pluto TV and you can live in the glory days of watching TV just like you used to if you don't have cable.
What have you been binge watching today?
There's a dedicated channel to Chris Angel Mind Freak.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
So we and Deanna on this Sunday afternoon, I just flipped it on, and I was like, wow, this is perfect for a sick day.
Yeah, really.
That's awesome.
And it was, specifically Mind Freak is a kind of trash TV show. I mean, I used to like it when I was younger, but watching it now, I'm like, holy shit, what is this?
It's pretty rough.
Wow.
Going back, I did flip it on for a second when I had Pluto on last, and it is cheese. It's super cheese.
Yeah, it is. If you want to watch a metrosexual do magic, it's
like a worse version of David Blaine.
Well,
yeah.
Speaking of metrosexuals and being sick, I found out today that they are making yet another Batman movie called The Batman, starring none other than Robert Pattinson as Batman.
As the Batman.
Yeah, as the Batman.
It's the Batman.
The titular Batman.
I thought I dreamt this idea. Like,
Well, we talked, didn't we talk about it a little? Well, maybe we didn't do it on air, but a little bit when we were reminiscing about the lighthouse.
yeah, I think so.
He's the new Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I only have like these fragments of memories of this happening, and so I read today that they casted someone. I can't remember who they casted, like a pretty like prominent actor for one of the like mob bosses.
They casted Paul Dano as the Riddler.
Oh yeah, I did hear.
Really?
Yeah, I did hear that.
And Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman.
I like Paul Dano in anything though. I'll watch it for Paul Dano. Well, I'll watch it for Robert Pattinson too. He's proven his worth.
Oh, for sure,
Yeah.
sure. So I thought that was just interesting. I thought it was like, wow, they're making a new Batman movie. Like it kind of, you know what it feels like? It feels like when the Joker first got announced with Joaquin Phoenix.
Was do you guys know that in There Will Be Blood, Paul Thomas Anderson's There Will Be Blood, the character of Paul and Eli Sunday, the twins, was originally supposed to be played by two different characters.
Yeah.
And Paul Dano was so good, and the other guy didn't show up on the first day because he was sick or something. And he's just like, oh shit, let's just use Paul Dano for both. They're twins now, which is awesome. It's great,
Yeah, it's
like,
a
on the
really
fly.
weird element to the story too, because it's like, wait, are there actually twin brothers, or is it just one guy?
It is
has
a tiny bit distracting. but
Personality disorder.
Yeah, it kind of leaves a few open-ended questions to a movie that really doesn't have a whole lot of like supernatural or whatever elements to it. It's just a
because
straight-ahead
when
drama.
Daniel Plainview meets the twin, he's just as confused as the audience. He's like, wait a minute.
That's true. Yeah, he has a great little side-eye look that he gives him. He's like,
Yeah. Yeah, but Robert Pattinson as Batman should be interesting. Paul Dano as the Riddler. I mean, it's hard for me to. I mean, whenever I think of the Riddler in like the cinema Riddler, I always think of Jim Carrey.
Oh my god!
Because I think
he was essentially his mask character put into a Batman movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jim Carrey did a fine job as the Riddler, at least in that universe.
Yeah, that's gonna say that comical universe is perfect.
He was the best
Yeah.
part of Batman. Which one?
Batman and
Returns?
Robin.
Batman Forever.
Yeah, I think it's Batman Forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the nipples,
Bat nipples.
bat nipples.
I do think if you go back and watch Looper, Paul Dano and Looper,
Is he in Looper?
I think, he's Jogo's best friend. He's the guy who's obsessed with his motorcycle. Always wants to ride his motorcycle, and then gets.
Oh, okay.
Remember, he gets his like ear and nose cut off in the
Yeah.
past, and
yeah,
future
yeah.
or whatever.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember now.
a sick scene,
Yeah.
rough scene.
Which, by the way, Looper is one of the best time travel movies ever made. So.
Cheers to that, mulatto. It really was great. I've rewatched it a few times. It was like an instant buy on DVD when it came out.
Yeah, for sure.
I found something kind of disturbing. As I was looking for my streaming pick this week.
Yeah.
I was looking through instantwatcher.com, which is a great website to find streaming, what's streaming right now on Amazon and Netflix and HBO and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was scrolling through and I saw Overboard, with Goldie Hawn and
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was this little thumbnail, and I had to scroll back and look back at it because it wasn't Goldie. It was the same cover shot, but it wasn't Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell.
It was a remake?
It's Anna Faris and Eugenio Derbez, whoever that is. And I never knew this movie existed.
Really?
It's a 2018 remake where they switch roles. Like,
Oh.
the guy's got amnesia.
Yeah.
Come on.
And
Hollywood.
It was. I'm looking at it like Anna Faris. Come on. But I know that's hard to say because she was like the mainstay of a scary movie, which, depending on your take on those movies, is a shitty franchise. I think they're great and funny, but it's such a weird thing to take like an iconic, like 80s camp buddy comedy, buddy romantic comedy, I guess.
Yeah.
And remake. I don't know. I feel like that's gonna piss off more people than it's gonna please.
So one thing about this remake that you just mentioned, Anna Faris is a good choice for a remake of a movie like this because she has been in really campy movies her whole life. So like you kind of like associate that like role. That was a very typecasted role, but it's a double-edged sword though because
unnecessary. That's all I'm saying. It's unnecessary. No one needs this movie.
I personally I really like Overboard. I thought that was a really fun movie, but I think it was only fun because of the charisma of the actors. It wasn't, it wasn't a good movie, but like it was just like kind of one of those. Oh, Kurt Russell, he just like makes. Like when he plays in certain characters, like he makes them his own characters. It's not like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain really.
Do you want to know the worst thing about this enlightened discovery that I have? is it grossed $91 million worldwide.
Wow.
That's a lot for a shitty remake.
That is a lot.
Then again, I've never seen the movie, so I can't talk too much shit about it, but it's just, I don't know. Yeah, it just seems like a bad move.
Well, I'm sure we could talk all day about Overboard and the remake, whether it be good or bad. I don't know how many of us have seen it. But we have a serious movie to discuss here. That's right.
Oh, boy.
This week, the Wheel of Destiny landed on my pick, which was Werner Herzog's Bad Lieutenant, The Bad Lieutenant, actually.
Thank you.
I was corrected. I did not realize the movie was called The Bad Lieutenant.
The Bad Lieutenant.
The Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans.
Hello, miss! I'm a lieutenant in the police department. I'm in the middle of a homicide investigation. Can I get my prescription, please?
Do fish have dreams?
And before we get into the movie, we have to get into our streaming picks. I mean, I'm really excited to talk about this movie because much like From Beyond, this was a movie that was plopped on my desk by my coworker, who I shall name Adam Murphy.
I figured it was Adam who gave this to you.
Yeah.
Very Adam-esque movie.
Yes, he plopped it on my desk and told me I watched it that night actually. or pretty soon, at least like the day after or something.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pretty quick turnaround with that one, and it was an experience, and I hope you guys had fun watching it.
Yeah, I got some things to say.
I know I was watching it with Pete, and I was there for his reactions, and it was
They're all genuine, I promise.
yeah.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, we have to get into our streaming picks. And Pete, do you have any streaming picks for us this week?
I do. I have a twofer this week. So if you are a subscriber to Hulu or Amazon Prime, you can watch 2010's Kick-Ass, which is a realistic, semi-realistic take on the superhero genre before realistic superhero movies were kind of in. It's starring, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Chloe Grace Moretz, and Christopher Mintz-Plasse cameo, maybe bigger, a little bit more than a cameo by Nicolas Cage, and a definite cameo by Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Interesting movie. I don't really know where I stand on it. I'm kind of middle of the road on this movie. Like, it was fun when I watched it. I wouldn't call it like a great movie, but it definitely was unique and interesting.
Yeah, especially for the time it came out too, because I think that movie either came out right immediately after the Superman movie directed by Zack Snyder.
Man of Steel.
Yeah, and so like everyone was like, "What the fuck? What was that shit?" And then Kick-Ass comes and saves the day. I think it was
in the right place, right time, I think.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a little long. It's almost 2 hours, hour and 57 minutes. It's a hard R, a lot of like hard cussing from children, a lot of like brutal death scenes from characters that you wouldn't expect. And it's the return of McLovin, which we all loved at the time. Christopher Mintz-Plasse in a completely different type of role. So at the time, it was pretty fun. It's a good watch. You could do a lot worse on a Friday night. And the follow-up to that is a movie that a lot less people have heard of or seen, which is also from 2010, a phenomenon which we've talked about multiple times on this show, where two movies will pair in their releases that are very similar.
I can guess what it is, I think.
2010's James Gunn's Super.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I
thought that was coming.
Yep. If you're a fan of Guardians of the Galaxy or Slither, then this is a good one for you. So most people who have seen the great success from Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and have heard all the controversy about James Gunn and blah, 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 and all these weird things he was involved with or weird tweets.
Bullshit.
Probably don't know a whole lot about his early stuff.
Yeah.
Give Slither a watch. That's for a topic for another day, but definitely give
Yes.
Super a watch. It's a even more realistic take on the superhero phenomenon, because this is actually probably how things would go if a person tried to play superhero.
Yeah. I thought this movie was really it was hard to watch at some points.
Yeah,
Like, it was,
absolutely.
It's gritty.
Yeah, it's very gritty, very cringy in the dialogue, but I think that is also like a really good part of that movie too, is because like that's literally how I feel someone in this position would talk. Like, it's so weird.
Yeah,
it's so strange.
It's Rainn Wilson basically trying to be a righteous entity in the world full of bad people, and he puts on this really hastily made red suit, and he's basically trying to steal or win or I don't know, something, get back his girlfriend played by Liv Tyler, punching way up on that one.
Oh yeah.
And she's falls into the grips and grasp and illusion of this weird drug lord played by Kevin Bacon. So she goes to Jacques, played by Kevin Bacon, and Rainn Wilson's like, "What are you doing, Sarah or whatever?" And she's kind of coked up the whole time, and he's like, "I'm gonna save her." And Ellen Page is in this as his pseudo sidekick. Michael Rooker is in this as the hit or like the heavy for Kevin Bacon, And if you like the from Guardians of the Galaxy, you'll see a lot of people you recognize.
Yeah.
Like Rondo or Brondo or whatever his name is Michael Rooker.
Brondo.
I can't remember his name. Yeah, I know it's not Brondo, but it's something like that. And then James Gunn's brother, Sean Gunn, who's in all his movies as well, plays the other, number 2 to Kevin Bacon.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a great movie. Another hard R, another hard to watch certain scenes.
Yeah.
But a great take on the superhero genre that you definitely don't expect. So give that and that's on Hulu, Showtime, and some other streaming service which we will not name. Just an F.
And
It's an FU.
Yeah, F you. Tyler?
So my streaming pick this week is 1995 Hackers.
ooh, baby.
Starring Johnny Lee Miller and Angelina Jolie and that dude who played Shaggy in the Scooby-Doo.
Matthew Lillard. Matthew Lillard.
So this movie, it's not a good movie by any sense. Like it is.
What are you talking about? It's a masterpiece.
It's a really nostalgic movie for me because this is kind of like I watched this. This was like kind of like the first batch of movies I watched when I realized that bad movies could be awesome. It's pretty much if anyone who's listening was a full-fledged adult in the 90s, you would understand the dating of this movie, like as far as like Hollywood's interpretation of computers, because they first started getting really popular and like on the news and stuff. So it's definitely a window in time sort of movie, and not really a whole much to say other than it's an experience. It's an experience to watch. And this is the director. His name is Ian Softly. He directed The Skeleton Key, which is also a semi-okay horror movie from the mid-2000s. Hackers. I mean, like, I'm sure a lot of people have seen it, but it's very, very memeable, very quotable, and there's not that bad of shots in some of this movie, like very very cyberpunk aesthetic, and it's some parts are really cool, but yeah, Hackers, good cheesy movie to watch when you want. Actually, here's a situation that you can show this movie legitimately.
Oh, okay.
So you just meet someone, and you're like, oh yeah, like, let's be friends. Like we're gonna be friends. And if you're,
I don't like where this is going.
and you're just like, it's like, you want to watch a bad movie? And this is the perfect bad movie to watch because the room is.
Why did you have to just meet this person for this scenario?
Well, I don't know. I'm using my imagination.
My favorite part of this movie was Fisher Stevens as the Plague. Like the ultimate hacker, and also cameo by Penn Jillette as Fisher Stevens, number one IT guy.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's actually the perfect bad good movie to show someone because it's not as extreme as The Room. It's not as weird as Double Down.
Oh.
It's solid.
Angelina Jolie with short hair, you could do a whole lot worse.
Dude, yeah, she's a babe in this movie too. So
yeah, if you ever wanted to see what competitive hacking looks like,
you ever wanted to see lines of green code projected onto the actors' faces as they type quickly, this is the movie for you.
Yeah, it's a very window in time sort of movie. So Hackers, starring 1995.
Starring 1995.
Yeah.
1995's Angelina Jolie.
Hackers, boot up or shut up, the official tagline.
Boot up or shut up. I didn't know that. That's funny. So what about you, Joseph? What is your streaming pick for this week?
My streaming pick for this week is on Netflix. It is a movie that me and Tiana we just kind of landed on randomly as we were perusing through the library of Netflix. It's a sci-fi thriller kind of movie called The Endless. It's I can't really say that it's a great movie either, but I think it has a lot of interesting concepts in it. There's a lot of elements of time, not necessarily time travel, but like a time loop. People trapped in a certain moment in time.
Whoa.
It's
what's it called again?
The Endless.
The Endless.
It's a pretty low budget movie. The directors are the stars of the movie, are the two main characters.
Okay.
They can't say I've ever heard of them. Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. Aaron Moorhead. So the synopsis is as kids they escaped a UFO death cult. Now two adult brothers seek answers after an old videotape surfaces and brings them back to where they began. So basically the movie starts as these brothers as adults. They're like kind of like they work for like a cleaning service, and this tape gets sent to them and they watch it, and it's people from this concubine or this cult or whatever, and it draws them back to where they grew up as kids before they escaped, and then they reconnect with all these people, but they're all like the same age as they were when they left as kids. So it's like, wait, what the? They're like they haven't aged at all.
Sounds like Dark, the German TV show, a little bit.
I can't speak on that. I've never seen that. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting sci-fi concepts in it. The acting is okay, and the production quality is also okay. But I think there's a lot of really cool sci-fi elements in it that if you're interested in that kind of stuff, then I think you might enjoy this movie.
Sick. I am into that. So
and it's just called Endless.
The Endless.
The Endless.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, that is my streaming pick for
Nice.
this week. And now is the time we delve into Werner Herzog's The Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans.
yeah.
So I had seen this movie probably like a year and a half ago. You guys watched it for the first time recently.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So what were your initial thoughts?
Go ahead and take this one, Tyler.
So I'm pretty sure the director and writer got together and they brainstormed a movie idea of how can we make a movie based on Nicolas Cage's real life, but in the role playing of a corrupt cop. There's some.
So, are you saying that Nicolas Cage is a coke addict?
In real life?
Yeah.
Is this assumption being made on this here podcast?
Yeah,
Are we breaking news here?
Are we
Maybe-
accusing?
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe not.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Tyler, allegedly.
Allegedly, he's.
I don't have the money to get sued.
Allegedly, I'm not saying that he's a crazy drug addict right now, but
All right, listen to him backpedal.
for the time that this movie was made, I can definitely see if this was his real like personality, and they're just like, oh, you got this, Nicky, you got this, all you got to do is play a cop, you know, he's corrupt, that's all I'm gonna give you. And he's like, oh yeah, I can do this.
I wouldn't be surprised if the scene early on in the movie where he's waiting in line for his prescription and the lady in the back counter behind the counter is on the phone. I wouldn't be surprised if that's how he's like in real life. He's like, here's it's $27 my copay. Here's $40. Buy everyone a drink, and he just gets out of there.
And
Fuck out of my way.
And he brings like his like Academy Award show like invitations instead of like a like a police badge. He's just like, hey, I'm Nick Cage. Look at this invitation. I've been invited.
There's a lot of interesting choices made with the character, the main character, which I don't think would really fit too well if it wasn't Nicolas Cage. So it was a good fit. I felt throughout the entire thing that it was reminiscent of oh gosh, I'm having a blank right now. The one Wild at Heart.
Oh yeah. There was definitely, especially near the end, there were some aspects of Wild at Heart,
which this movie could have really benefited from a little bit of Willem Dafoe as Bobby Peru poking his head in. He could have been a great cameo, bridging the two realities of those crazy bananas movies together.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would watch this movie again, but I'm glad I experienced this movie. So thank you for
How do you feel about it, Joseph?
Well, I think it's pretty crazy. It's a movie made for Nicolas Cage. It's a role made for Nicolas Cage. What I like about it, I think, because I was actually thinking about this yesterday or this morning, where we have the plot of the movie is a lieutenant is investigating the murder of these Senegalese people, right, in the projects.
Yeah.
But that's really not what it's about. It's about Nicolas Cage getting into as much shit as possible, and then haphazardly getting his way out of it by pitting these enemies against each other, and he's like constantly finding new ways to get out of sticky situations. He's a good like salesman. It's really weird.
Yeah. There's a lot of scenes where his personal life is bleeding into his work life when these people like his bookie.
Oh yeah.
And this guy played by Shea Wiggum comes into the police station.
Oh yeah.
Hey man.
Shea Wiggum doing like an old Al Pacino impression.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if his disappearance had anything to do with you, but hey, consider that debt absolved. Oh yeah.
So before we get really into this movie, there was a controversy when this movie came out because there is a movie called Bad Lieutenant that was made in the 90s, and
starring Harvey Keitel.
Yeah, and the director, and so I mean, for context, the original Bad Lieutenant movie is pretty much the same plot as Port of Call, New Orleans. So when I was researching it, I was like, oh yeah, okay, so yeah, this is pretty much the same plot. The director claims that
Werner Herzog.
Yeah, he claims that he has never heard of that original movie before ever.
So let me piggyback on this, Tyler, because it's a phenomenon that intrigues me greatly. So I looked it up a little bit, and so Abel Ferrara directed the original Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel, and 1992. Not like it was done in the 60s or something, and they're now doing a remake of it. What is this? What year was this made?
2010?
2009? Port of Call, New Orleans?
2009, yeah, 2009.
So this was 17 years later, and and Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel is a pretty well-known movie. It was one of the movies that cemented Harvey Keitel as this like don't fuck with me type character actor. And so Abel Ferrara, upon hearing about the remake at the Cannes Film Festival, says, quote, "I wish these people die in hell. I hope they're all in the same streetcar and it blows up," end quote. But Werner Herzog claims he's not bothered by the complaint, not because he disrespects Ferrara, but because he doesn't know who he is. In an interview with Defamer, he said, quote, "I have no idea who Abel Ferrara is. I don't feel like doing an homage to Abel Ferrara because I don't know what he did. I've never even seen a film by him. I have no idea who he is. Is he Italian? Is he French? Who is he?" End quote. Which is the most Werner Herzog thing ever.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a weird ass like Swiss, like I think he's Swiss or something.
German.
Is he German? Okay, my bad. I was thinking of H.R. Geiger.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's like this weird like void of pop culture. Yet he's in the new Star Wars movie, Rise of Skywalker.
He's in Rick and Morty too.
Yeah, it's weird.
I mean, he has a weird career because he he's made a bunch of like really good documentaries. Like I knew when I
Grizzly
found,
Man.
Yeah.
when I found out about him, I was like, I knew him as a documentary filmmaker, because of Cave of Forgotten Dreams.
Yeah, that's it. I was thinking.
I was thinking of
the name of it.
Yeah, I thought of Grizzly Man because I
Yeah.
love that one. So I kind of have a theory on his whole plot for Bad Lieutenant. I think like he's just sometimes you think of something like that's really amazing that has been like already done before, and it's like it's already been established, but you come up with it on your own and you don't even know it exists. I think this is the exact situation that happened, and it's really endearing in a sense that
He's
I'm the first one who ever thought about this. Bad Lieutenant.
He's the Carlos Mencia of filmmaking.
Oh yeah.
I swear I never heard that joke. Okay, maybe I did hear it before, but I wasn't intentional. I just picked it up and it's just in my mind somewhere.
I literally think that's what happened in this situation. So like when like everyone's giving him shit for it, he's like, "What are you talking about? I thought about this. Like I genuinely thought about this title and this whole plot. Like
I don't know what to think.
It's like when James Cameron was making Avatar. It's like, wait a minute, this is just like Pocahontas or Ferngully.
Yeah, this is Ferngully all over again.
This is Dances with Wolves."
Yeah.
Well, let's
But back
let's
into
get
the
to
movie.
some of these on topic.
So Nicolas Cage has like a back injury of some kind.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it might be just an ongoing thing, or if it was because he in the beginning of the movie he gets in the water.
No, it was implied that he injured himself when he jumped off of the railings.
Yeah. Okay.
It is?
Yeah, I must have missed that then.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that beginning scene, they're being very cruel to this poor prisoner, and
Yeah.
Who's about to drown to death in a prison cell
Or be
as-
bitten by a venomous snake.
yeah.
as the floodwaters of Hurricane Katrina are rising.
And so he's praying, and how aggressive Nicolas Cage's character is like when he was about to jump in the water, like I thought he was gonna do something really cruel, but it blacks out. Like his feet touch the water, and it blacks out, and then it shows him at the doctor's, and the doctor's like, "Yeah, you're gonna be in pain for the rest of your life."
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So that's supposedly the catalyst that gets him hooked on all these drugs, which I don't really believe at all. Maybe that's just what he tells people. The only drugs I take are prescription drugs, which he's very cavalier about. He gets like the uncut coke from Exhibit, who's the drug lord in this, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
And he snort.
It's not a bad actor.
No, he's good.
Yeah, he was good in this movie.
What's his name? Alvin,
Alvin.
real name?
Exhibit.
whatever his last name is.
I only know him by
Diggs.
Exhibit.
Well, he gets the uncut cocaine from him, or at least that's what he thinks it is, and he snorts some. He goes back home to his prostitute girlfriend, Ava Mendez, and says, so I snorted what I thought was coke, turned out to be heroin. I gotta be working an hour. Give me some coke so I can get to work. And then they're very cavalier about the fact that he just did heroin and needs more coke to get to work.
Like one of the first instances you see him be a bad lieutenant is when he's waiting outside the gator room, the gator.
Oh, what's it called?
The gator something. I can't remember the name of the club, but he's waiting outside. He waits for a couple, and then he,
dude, is that
just to shake them down and take their drugs?
That was a very, very odd crack smoking scene in a movie I've ever seen. I've seen many crack smokings in my lifetime, and that was a very strange one.
And he cucks the boy, the dude.
Oh, dude, yeah. It was just so weird, and the freaking dialogue that he was spouting. He was just like, "Oh, did your mom molest you?" and shit like that. I'm just like, dude, what the fuck?
He says he threatens the guy, puts him against the wall, and the guy's begging for some sort of plea, and he's like, I'll go to jail on the weekends if that's what it takes. My dad can't know about this. He'll kill me. And then as he's like getting a handy from like the girl, who not clear if she's a prostitute or not, but he's like, did your parents beat you? Molest you?
Yeah.
Not see you in the high school play? Let you go out with no panties on?
Yeah,
No panties on.
It's so creepy.
Yeah, it is very creepy, and I was thinking, oh shit, like Nicolas Cage isn't acting right now. Like this is actually him.
This is a Thursday night. It's
Yeah.
not even a weekend for him.
Yeah.
This is a Tuesday afternoon for Nick.
Gators Retreat. That's what it was. Gators Retreat.
Gators Retreat.
Gators Retreat, right next to the Cuvée, the other club or restaurant or something.
Wow.
That was interesting. I like the dialogue was almost written by an alien, Werner Herzog. if Men in Black was a documentary, Werner Herzog is definitely an alien. I like the dialogue when he comes into his Eva Mendes, his girlfriend's penthouse suite, and he comes up and there's a John in there who she's just finished with, and the guy looks at him and is like, "Who the fuck are you?" And he goes, "I'm the last person in the world you want me to be." Gun illegal substances. I got some coke. Go get it. Get out.
He just cucks every male in the room.
Typical alpha male.
Poor Eva Mendes for having to, be, in romantic scenes with Nick Cage. Like, God. Like that, like every time he was like making out on her.
Mendes, what are you talking about? You wouldn't give your right arm to make out with Nicolas Cage? The man's a legend. Easily like a 9.5 out of 10.
And the makeup artist who did Nick Cage's makeup in this movie, like they made him look extremely coke addicty. It was insane.
I will give him credit. He's a great actor because the whole time you think, man, this guy's looks like he's like just strung out, like half there. And then you realize, and you're like, why is he hunched over like that? Oh fuck yeah, he's got a back injury.
Yeah.
Like he carries that along with him.
It gets crazier. His like weird limp walk, and then here's the way he talks. He talks like he turns into like an old man almost, and then it just stops, and then it just stops and comes back to normal.
I think it depends on if he's like on like a heroin like binge or something. He's in like he's going on
it could
3
be
nights without sleep, and then that's when he gets real loopy.
I also like to think it was some weird character choice that he made, and we all know that movies aren't filmed in order.
Yeah.
So I always wonder if it was just some like this like
how he was feeling in a particular day.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, it could be. I mean, that makes sense. The whole like maybe he was strung out, and that's kind of what affected him. But at the same time, it's like I like to think that maybe it was just inconsistent with the acting. Like, oh shit, I forgot I was talking like that. Well, it's too late now.
Oh yeah, my bad. Do you guys think that Werner intended this movie to be somewhat of a comedy?
It's hard to.
You think that was intentional or unintentional?
No, I think it was unintentional.
I think it was intentional.
Really?
Werner's.
I think
well
Werner is
enough.
self-aware. I think I would compare him to like Lars von Trier, because Lars von Trier, to me, is trolling Hollywood with his movies.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah, especially how's it Jack built.
He's definitely got to be aware of what the reactions his movies are going to cause, and he's definitely just like pretty much giving a middle finger to everyone that can when he screens his movies. Because he knows that he's going to get walkouts and boos. But Werner Herzog, I think, is also, I mean, he's obviously not as extreme. His content isn't as extreme. It's just weird. But I think he's aware of what he's doing. I think he's a smart filmmaker.
I think it's impossible to think that he is not at least a little aware of it. And so I tend to agree with you, Joseph, because there's a line when I can't remember who it is. One of the characters is hassling him about being like doped up, and Nicolas Cage is like, "Whatever I take's a prescription, except the heroin." and then when he's, I think it's like his partner, because immediately after that he's in the stakeout scene. And he's like, "What are all these iguanas doing over here?"
Oh yeah, ain't no
Val
iguanas.
Kilmer's like, "Yeah, iguanas," and then it cuts to the lizard vision.
Oh god, that's so. I love that.
It's like a fisheye, jittery camera view from the ground from this bearded dragon is looking up at him.
It was very out of place too. Very out of place. For
So there's
those scenes.
there's only like two of those, right? There's one on the side of
there's
the
only two.
road, with an alligator.
Oh yeah,
gets,
the alligator one was even more out of place.
I mean I love that element of the movie. I just think it's so funny. Like, it's like, what the fuck is this? What are we watching?
I know. Why? What choice is this?
And it's playing like this like old music, like this soul music over
Yeah.
it, and it's like, what are we getting out of this? What is
I think that it's definitely it suffers from, I don't know how long this movie took, but I agree that I think everyone was in a different attitude with every day that they filmed this movie, so that's why it feels so like out of
Tone
place. It's all
very different from
Yeah.
scene to scene. Yeah.
It's all
like
it's all over the
three
place.
or four different movies all
Yeah.
cut together.
And
it's
then,
definitely just scenes of different movies. It's like it's just scenes, like self-contained scenes almost.
The I have to imagine, and I said this to Joseph when we were watching it together, but I have to imagine when the lizard vision comes on screen, that it's just Werner Herzog talking to his DP like, we must have a passive view of the scene, something from the earth that feels what's happening to the characters in its most natural state. That lizard, what does he see? How can we recreate this? And they're like, how about a fisheye lens on a GoPro?
Perfect.
That will do.
I like to think it was just Werner
Excellent.
himself with a GoPro on his stick.
No, it was him saying,
GoPro on his stick,
While he's
attached to his foot.
yeah,
Werner, what are you doing over there? It's like, quiet.
camera B.
Yeah. This is the most crucial shot of the entire film.
He's like he
so-
sounds like what's his name? Was it McDonald? No, Malkovich. John Malkovich.
John Malkovich.
If he was German.
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a great YouTube video if you look up. I know it's not actually Werner Herzog, but it still makes me laugh. It's Werner Herzog reads Where's Waldo?
Oh.
And it's like, where is our striped hero? Could he be on the docks, escaping his reality in which he is a slave to? It's so great. Nicolas Cage goes to Biloxi. He takes this witness child to Biloxi with him to save his prostitute girlfriend from John that beat her up and loses him.
Yeah, he just like runs away or something.
Yeah, he realizes what kind of like person is taking care of him, and is like, I'd rather just take a bus anywhere.
Nicolas Cage is not the most responsible person who should be watching me.
Yeah, if you're going out for a date night with the missus and Nicolas Cage shows up to babysit your kids, maybe cancel that dinner.
I thought there was a really funny scene that happens, I think like in the hour and a half mark, is where Nicolas Cage is shaving behind
the
a
door?
Right before he threatens the two geriatrics.
Yeah, really makes you wonder, like, whose idea was that? And because, like, why the shaving? Why?
Yeah, I think that was.
He's on an hour and a half of sleep.
Yeah, it shows how out of it he is.
Yeah.
I did take notes on that scene. I said, harassing the two old ladies was ridiculous. He almost kills one by cutting off her oxygen, and then pulls a gun on the other one, and then threatens to kill them both.
Right
And then pulls
afterwards.
yeah, and then pulls a gun on both of them and tells them that they're what's wrong with this country.
And actually, this was one of my favorite. That was my favorite scene in the movie. Was that it was amazing. I was laughing the whole time and very entertained.
As ridiculous as that was, though, the fact that they do tie it into reality when they have like an investigation into that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Where they're like,
oh yeah.
at no time did you threaten the life of Mrs. Johnson or whatever. And he's like, I didn't do anything like that.
Yeah.
Who said that? The old lady? I'm sure her memory's going. And you're just like, it's weird because in a lot of these movies, there's no consequences for the erratic behavior of the characters.
Yeah.
No.
In this one, there still is no consequences, but at least they have some semblance of like a follow up with it.
Yeah.
Well, if we're talking about favorite scenes, my favorite scene in the movie is when the Shea Wiggum, when he shakes Shea Wiggum's character down because he beat up Eva Mendes' character, and then he's like, "Whoa, you don't know my father," or something like that, right?
Ooh, big mistake.
Boo, big mistake. Whoa. And so then that comes back around. He gets in trouble with these guys in Biloxi, and they're at his hotel room or his suite.
It's Eva Mendes' apartment.
It's her apartment. Okay.
Mhm.
And they're like these mob guys named Dave, Jeff, and
Andy.
Very threatening. And so they come back later because he owes them like $15,000, right?
Mhm.
And so he's trying to like get money from Exhibit, and he's trying to he's almost like blackmailing him, kind of.
Yeah.
Like he's like, do this for me and I won't put you in jail, basically.
Yeah,
And
that's
so-
exactly. It's like a tax. It's a cop tax.
And so eventually these two sides meet, Exhibit and his gang, and Dave, Andy, and Jeff show up at Exhibit's house, and then there's a shootout, and then Nicolas Cage, after he kills
All three of them end up dead.
Yeah, Dave, Andy, and Jeff are all dead. And then Nicolas Cage is just standing behind the desk. He's like, shoot him again. He's like, what for? He's like, his soul is still dancing. And then
that was a
there's
very
this
trippy moment.
and there's this guy with a mohawk who's breakdancing in the same outfit as Dave, the leader of this other gang. He's just breakdancing, and it's playing like this Deliverance banjo,
Like Cotton Eye Joe.
Yeah.
It's so off-putting. It was so
it is
off-putting.
it is absolutely bananas. And then he shoots him again, and then the breakdancer like falls down.
Yeah. I was like, what the fuck is this? That's like, that scene is what really is like, this movie is not taking itself seriously at all.
No.
Well,
And Go ahead,
I was
Tyler.
gonna say I thought that this movie was supposed to be I don't know, like an original like bad cop movie that they used to make, but near the end I was thinking, well, maybe he's like actually trying to like be a little weird about it, like more abstract, but it didn't, I don't know, it didn't make sense for it because it definitely didn't start out abstract. It started out a very specific way, and then near the end where he was like tripping out on stuff, it was I don't know.
I feel like Werner Herzog like watched a David Lynch movie and then goes, "This is the height of entertainment in our generation."
Yeah, that was.
And then he watched all David Lynch movies. He watched like 10 David Lynch movies back to back, and then sat down and wrote this movie. It's like, we must make a film, an homage to David Lynch.
Homage to David
Yeah,
Lynch.
a homage. Yeah. Because the weird thing though is about just about every scene, it seems to just come and go. There's not a ton of like learned changes from characters or personal growth.
No, not
It's just
really.
like, oh, now he's got a dog. now he's showing her his childhood hideout, and it's touching to everyone somehow. He talks about a sterling silver spoon, which technically comes back around.
Fuck, that scene, that really...
Yeah, he takes her into a shack and is like, I used to take my metal detector out on the lake, and I found a sterling silver spoon. It was beautiful.
I used to play pirates and
Yeah,
bury
it was
treasure.
It's in here somewhere. It's got to be in here somewhere. And she's like so blown away with like how deep he's getting for some reason.
And then it just ends, and there's...
It ends.
Yeah.
It goes to nowhere. And technically, the spoon comes in the very last scene, right before it fades to black, and directed by Werner Herzog, comes on the screen. But it means nothing, you know.
Yeah.
And then he's I don't know. It's none of the scenes have like any like bearing on each other.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's that part was the fact the basically like the mesh of how this movie was constructed was a little disappointing.
Well,
but it was fun to watch.
the whole element of like his family, like his dad and his sister, was, I feel like that part of the movie could have
Sister?
been left out. Like Jennifer Coolidge's character, wasn't that his sister?
Oh, that's it. That's his dad's girlfriend.
Oh, okay, whatever. But his whole dad,
Yeah, whatever.
The whole dad aspect of it.
Yeah, that could have been deleted.
Yeah.
The dog could have been out of there.
Yeah, the dog. It was so.
And Nicolas Cage actually puts it perfectly in one scene. He's just like, I don't give a shit about the dog. And it's just like, no one does.
Yeah,
It is funny. He brings the dog into Eva Mendes after taking ownership of it on a whim for his dad for some reason.
Yeah.
He brings it in, and she's like, oh, great. Oh, you're such an asshole. All right, I'll watch it. What's his name? I don't know. You don't know? Couldn't ask your dad? I don't know.
Yeah, just like totally nonchalant. Like it was just like forced to have this dog in the scene.
Yeah.
You know what? You know how this movie could have been written is Werner Herzog played a game of The Sims and just recorded like what the characters did with their lives and made it into a movie. Oh, now he's got a dog.
Oh, now the house is on fire. Oh shit.
Yeah, house on fire. Uh-oh. He died washing his clothes.
So, so Nicolas Cage, he has a severe drug problem. He has a gambling problem, which also could have been deleted from the plot too.
That was just another element of
It was
him getting into shit.
His
I think.
shittiness.
Yeah, but it like at least his drug addiction actually played a part in like the story. But with the gambling one, it was just like it felt definitely ham-fisted in there.
Because what the guy, Brad Dourif, who plays the bookie, he mentions that like if he doesn't pay, then these guys will come and beat him up, basically.
Yeah, but that never pays off.
Yeah, we don't even know who these guys are. Like we don't know like the level of their, like what they're capable of, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, he just has this other problem
Yeah.
that he had, and it's like, oh, he solved it. Oh, okay, it's fine now. Everything works out for him though.
Yeah.
In the end, like, and he's sitting at his police desk, and like the Shea Wiggum comes back. He's like, "Whoa, man, we're all good." And then,
Whoa.
whoa, man, oh
Wow.
yeah, whoa yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and then the bookie comes in and says, "Great news, man! Your horse or your Louisiana won. Here's $10,000." And
yeah, it's all here.
and then the pipe that he planted on Exhibit, because he basically framed Exhibit with the pipe.
Yeah.
And then his captain or whatever comes in. He's like, "Great news, buddy! We got the crack pipe, and it places Exhibit at the crime scene."
So this was my biggest problem with the movie, is that everything worked out perfectly, and nothing was lost.
There was no consequences.
No, not at all. And I guess
That's what I think is so great.
His junkie girlfriend gets clean. He knocks her up, or maybe his dad knocked her up. I don't know.
it was ambiguous on that.
Yeah, it was she's pregnant and with someone's baby.
At the very end, when the credits roll, I thought to myself, "What have we learned? Cops are bad. Werner Herzog doesn't know how humans interact with each other."
This cop is bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was the whole movie was worth it to see Shea Wiggum's character.
Oh yeah.
So funny.
Oh yeah.
Both times he was on screen, he's only on screen for maybe a grand total of 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And his way as he delivers his lines is so funny.
I love Shea Wiggum. Is it one of the best side characters?
Little character actor that you may not know. Like, I've seen his face before, and when you and I were watching it, I thought, who's that guy again? You're like, oh, Shea Wiggum's. I'm like, God, where do I know him from? And you named off 4 or 5 movies he'd been in. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, always side character. I think the movie comes back around though, because so at the beginning of the movie, the prisoner, he shows up at the end of the movie. He's he works for a hotel. And he's like, room service. And he's like, oh, it's you. You're the cop who.
Oh yeah.
You're the cop who you saved me after you were bullying me.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one didn't even make any sense. Like that one, that scene I hated specifically because like that dude was just like, we're gonna let him drown and we're gonna bet on his life.
Yeah.
And now he's like,
how
oh,
long
you
it
saved
takes.
me. It's like, dude, no, he jumped off of the balcony, broke his back, and
after he did all that.
I mean,
he did end up saving him though.
If Nicolas Cage wasn't in this movie, like this movie would have been like significantly harder to watch. But the fact that Nicolas Cage was in this movie, it was engaging because he's so weird.
It's a spectacle.
He's so charismatic.
Yeah. So it comes back around in that sense that like, this side character shows up at the end, and then he's the character that he's with in the last shot of the movie in the aquarium. After they presumably get high.
I kind of assume that he makes that guy break his 1-year sobriety.
Yeah.
And so also how the movie begins is he gets promoted to lieutenant. So at the end of the movie, after he does all this shitty stuff, he did all this horrible shitty stuff, he gets promoted to captain. And now he's a bad captain. The bad captain.
The bad captain.
Bad captain.
Port of call, Biloxi, Mississippi.
I think because there are no consequences, the whole story is about you can do anything, and as long as you don't get caught, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Because it's a movie that you're not gonna watch for justice. Nothing is justified in this movie.
Justice wouldn't like this movie anyways.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this movie is I don't know if it's a comment on anything, but it's a specific kind of movie.
I don't know. This movie was released during the recession, so this probably was just like a desperate like cash grab. Felt that way.
I can't imagine Werner gives 2 shits about money. I get the distinct feeling he'd be happy like living in a 1-bedroom apartment in obscurity, because I don't know, I feel like he just is that I don't know, he's on his own wavelength.
Yeah.
Such a weird guy. My favorite personality in Hollywood by far.
Yeah, sure. Any other thoughts on this movie?
I got one note I didn't touch on is the scene when he's doing like the home invasion, and he sneaks up behind the dude. Well, actually, I got two notes. He sneaks up on the dude in the house and pulls a gun on him, and he walks him out of the house, and he passes him off into the custody of the other police officers. It's almost like a Steven Seagal movie where like he's got this amazing power. He could just sneak up on anybody at any given time.
Yeah.
But it's funny because he comes out and he goes, "I love it.
I
just love it."
Yeah.
And he moves on with his, and that's the whole scene.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this is really weird. that and also I thought that Werner Herzog was way ahead of his time with the inclusion, like the whole diversity thing, because as he's walking into the liquor store the first time to grill the liquor store manager about the delivery guys, you see a Senegalese little person walk across screen, drinking a tall can, doesn't comment on it. Later on, you think there's a one of the like hitmen for Exhibit. his nickname is Midget, so you think it's gonna be him, and you're like, oh, that was him, and he just just barely missed Nicolas Cage. No, different guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Midget is not played by an actual midget. Midget's played by a regular sized person. But that was just a coincidence. Werner could have picked any of hundreds of extras for that scene, and he's like, let's get this Senegalese little person drinking a tall can cross screen, just for the hell of it.
I'm sure he was.
Thought that was fun.
I'm sure he was trying to go for the authentic post Katrina feel to it, like just like regular people are more out and about now because the floods have like flooded a lot of areas, so everyone's like walking around everywhere, and
the midgets came out of their homes after the floodwaters settled.
Or I don't know, maybe
actually that's a scary thing if you're a little person.
Floods.
A flood is way scarier if you're 4 foot tall.
yeah.
All right, we're gonna have to edit this out.
Middle class film class late night edition.
Yeah.
Yeah, subscribe to our Patreon to hear the uncensored version where we talk about midgets.
So any other thoughts?
I think that this movie was an experience for sure. It was a little bit too long, but this was a very Nicolas Cagey movie. It was a very Nicolas Cagey movie, and I can appreciate it for that. So, if you're into that,
had fun.
Yeah, it's a fun movie.
It's fun. Yeah, I agree. It's a fun movie. I also don't know if I would I wouldn't watch it again alone, or I would have to be showing somebody, like a person who wants to experience a different kind of Nicolas Cage movie. This could be on the list.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very
you guys want to rate it?
Yeah, do you guys what do you guys give this movie?
I'm going right down the middle, 2.5 stars out of 5. I'm not going to tell anybody at a party to turn it off.
Oh,
Just not worth their time. I'll definitely walk by and go, Protocol New Orleans? Oh,
nice.
Boy. And then just leave the room.
I give this movie a 2 out of 5.
Okay.
It was very entertaining. I laughed very heartily at some scenes. So it, wasn't a waste of time or anything like that. So, but yeah, it wasn't that great either. So 2 out of 5.
On the Nicolas Cage scale, what do you guys give this movie?
5 out of 5. This is a very Nicolas Cage movie.
Tyler, have you seen Wild at Heart?
Yes. Yes, I have.
I feel like that's a 5 out of 5 Nicolas Cage movie.
Yeah, you make a good point.
That's peak Cage, that and Mandy.
Yeah, peak Cage is definitely Wild at Heart.
I'm gonna go with like a 3.5 out of 5 for the Nicolas Cage scale, maybe a 4.
Okay.
Pretty good, pretty nuts. I'll let you know how I feel after I watch Vampire's Kiss. Been waiting to watch that one for a while.
Fuck.
So I give this movie on the regular scale a 3 out of 5.
Wow.
I think it's really entertaining.
Bold choice.
And from my perspective, I think it is just a collection of scenes put together, and I like I like the whole aspect of him digging himself deeper and deeper into debt and shit that he has to get himself out of by the end of the movie, and he does it, and it's just like it's almost like a parody movie, that whole scene when everybody's coming up to him and like saying,
yeah, exactly,
you got out of this, here's $10,000, all right.
Like every good thing happens to him and everyone was happily ever aftered.
I know, right? I just think that's so
weird.
funny. It's so funny to me. That's why I like it.
Yeah, it is. I could see how that's really funny, because based on the context of the movie where it's like really dark and gritty, and then all of a sudden, everything is actually A-okay.
Especially because he's just like sitting there like drugged out almost, and he's just like, yeah, okay. Like he looks like he's anticipating the worst news. Like he's like, oh god, this is horrible. But then everybody's like, great news, buddy. And Yeah, I just think that's so funny. Like all these guys are coming up to him like, "Hey, this is awesome," and then he's like,
Don't bother me at work.
Yeah, 3 out of 5 on the regular scale. I give it a 4 out of 5 on the Nicolas Cage scale. As far as Nicolas
Sounds
Cage performances
4 to 5.
go, yeah,
That's good.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
Thanks for the recommendation, Joe.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
was good.
yeah. I'm glad you guys got to experience it. Hopefully, this week I don't go for a three for.
Repeat.
3-peat.
Yeah. So that concludes our discussion of The Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans. It is now time.
It's off the wheel. It's being erased as we speak.
It's now time for the wheel, but this time I'm not going to be replacing a movie since Bad Lieutenant was a wild card.
Wild card.
So now I had 3 picks before, but now it's time for Pete's turn to have 3
That's
picks
right.
on the wheel.
Tyler's got three squares. I'm gonna have 3 squares. And Joseph's gonna have 2 squares. So I'm gonna replace this movie with the 1992 classic A League of Their Own, directed by Penny Marshall.
Oh my god. I love this movie, actually.
I love this movie so much. It's so fun. It reminds me of my
Is
childhood.
that the one with
My
Tom
parent-
Hanks and Rosie O'Donnell?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and Gina
Oh,
Davis.
right.
and Madonna.
Oh man,
And Madonna.
She was in that movie? I didn't even know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, Madonna, Lori Petty, John Lovitz, David Strathairn, Gary Marshall, Bill Pullman, Megan Cavanaugh, Rosie O'Donnell, Tracy Rayner.
What?
It's ton. It's a ton. It's got a ton of
It's
big names in it.
It's a fun movie. It's a really
It is.
enjoyable
It's
movie.
long, 2 hours 8 minutes, and
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's rated PG. So it's
So it
your
did come
first
out
PG movie.
early 90s, yeah.
First PG movie that we're going to dissect on this here podcast.
Wasn't George of the Jungle PG?
You know what? Strike that from the record. You're right.
Retracted.
I forgot.
I know we're all trying to
I
forget
th- I-
that movie, but
I forgot it was a PG movie because I was shouting obscenities throughout the entire viewing of that movie.
I forgot it was PG because of the amount of skin we see from Brendan Fraser.
It's true.
George of the Jungle is PG as it is. When's the first G
Alright,
movie we're
A
gonna
League of
watch?
Their Own. Wild card.
You know, when you said A League of Their Own, I was thinking of A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
The Sean Connery movie with Paul Bettany.
Yeah.
The reason this came up is I was scrolling through.
Is it streaming anywhere?
It is. It's streaming on Showtime, DirecTV, FUBO, and it says Showtime Amazon, which I'm not sure exactly what that is.
You have to have a subscription, I think, to Showtime.
Showtime Amazon channel. I don't know what the heck that is, but there's a documentary called A League of Their Own that's streaming on Hulu right now, I believe, or Amazon Prime. And I saw it and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to watch this. And it turned out to be just a documentary.
Oh.
And I thought, gosh, it's been decades since I've seen the original, the Gina Davis one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, should be fun.
If it lands on it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
When
So
it
we
lands
got-
on it.
We got some good ones on here. We got Joseph's picks, The Machinist, and Dunkirk. Tyler's picks, Mr. America, the original Blair Witch Project, and his wild card, Escape from New York. And my picks are The Bridge on the River Kwai, They Look Like People, and now A League of Their Own, my wild card pick. So,
Cool.
you guys ready for a spin?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Spinner
I'm
up.
gonna give it a pre-spin. I'm gonna give it a pre-spin just to put on some random
In
square.
the wheel of destiny.
Here goes.
Oh my god.
Anticipation. A League of Their Own.
Okay. Well, that's cool because I got really pumped up listening to you describe it. So
All right, here we go.
Perfect.
Well, I guess we're
So-
about to do this thing.
So next week, then, I'm back to 3 picks?
Or
is it-
Tyler? Well, yeah, you would be because Tyler's
yeah, I already
three.
have
Oh.
mine. I know the rules of the wheel is very vague to our listeners, but we're just kind of going along as we
So-
go.
As it
Yeah,
happens.
good point. Let me clarify just a little bit further. We have 8 squares on this wheel. There's 3 of us, so each of us get 2 picks and 2 of us get 3 picks. So in the interest of fairness, at any given time, 2 people are going to have 3 picks, and we call the third one the wild card, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now, currently, me and Tyler have 3 on the wheel. Last week, Joseph and Tyler had 3 on the wheel. So it landed on my wild card. It's going to get replaced with Joseph's. If Tyler got the wild card pick, he'd have 4 on the wheel. It doesn't make any sense.
And a wild card.
Hope that clarifies.
Yeah, and so I assume that you guys have your own requirements for a wild card movie. So like my wild card movies are much like my streaming picks, where like they're not like quote unquote good movies, but they're movies that if you know me throughout this show, you'll be like, oh, that is definitely a Tyler pick.
I think
I have 0 requirements for my wild cards.
I think mine is that none of us have seen it. I think
That's a good
Although-
one. That's a good.
although Bad Lieutenant is one I did see before and From Beyond, but I think
So my rule is my rule makes no sense.
but I don't have to follow my
See,
own
we're just
rules.
we're just making it up as we go. That's the
Yeah, I think the next one will be one that we haven't none of us have seen.
yeah, I literally just use it as a third square because we have an unusual number. If we have a 9 square wheel,
Yeah,
9 slot wheel,
someone wants to send us a wheel with 9 slices in it, then
and since we're talking to the audience now and directly asking for contributions from the audience, I will say, please send us an email. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. If you've been listening since the beginning or if you just started this week, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at mcfcpodcast@gmail.com. No email goes ignored. And follow us on Facebook if you're on the social media web. It's facebook.com/MCFC podcast. That's Middle Class Film Class, MCFC podcast. So far, we have received 0 emails. In the interest of being as self-deprecating as possible, we're 12 episodes in. Send us an email. We're getting desperate.
please.
please.
And to our mystery listener that's listening from Mexico City, Mexico, hola. We are officially worldwide now. We have listeners in Sweden, Finland, New Mexico City, and South Korea.
Whoa.
So if we had a one listen from this week from somewhere in South Korea. If you're listening, drop us an email. It would be great to hear from you in whatever language you speak.
Yeah.
We'll figure out how to read it.
Yes. I mean, we are middle class, so.
That's true.
We have
appeal to the masses.
resources.
All right. Well, see you guys next week.
Wait, hold on there, Tyler.
Oh.
You're not the host. not until Lance on Mr. America.
Well, Pete, do you want to give a little description about the A League of Their Own, or do you think it's a?
That's a great. I should. A League of Their Own is set in, I want to say, like 1940s or 50s, maybe even. Yeah, I want to say it was 40s or 50s, when a lot of the war-aged males go off to war, and America wants their favorite pastime, baseball.
Yeah.
So they create a female league of baseball players, and they tour the country trying to entertain the masses. And Tom Hanks is a baseball manager, a skipper from the big leagues, who is really not too thrilled to be coaching a bunch of women in this era. So it's a comedy, it's a drama, it's exciting, it's fun, it's a great watch, and if you haven't seen it, you really should. This was came out in 1992, starring Gina Davis, Tom Hanks, and a whole bevy of characters which you will recognize playing the various baseball players. So, really fun movie.
Cool.
Sweet.
Streaming nowhere.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Showtime, DirecTV, Fubo. Just because I don't have it doesn't mean none of you guys have it.
Yeah.
But very fun.
Playing on small screens in most places.
Redbox rental, PlayStation, Voodoo, Fandango now.
Yeah.
Amazon rental for $3, YouTube for $4, Google Play for $4. It's accessible.
You
and
can
it's
get
worth
it.
$3 to rent.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that just about does it for this special sick edition of Middle Class Film Class. Drink some tea, take some NyQuil, and throw this podcast on and lull yourself to sleep with the soothing sound of our voices. We will see you guys later.
Bye, guys.
See ya.